Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Edward Ahmed Mitchell. I'm the National Deputy Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations, our nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization. I want to thank everyone who's watching from the American Muslim community, among our partners, our neighbors, our friends, our allies, and our other supporters. And thank you as well to members of the media tuning in today. We always begin our press conferences by saying, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulullah, which means in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise be to God, the Lord of the worlds, and may peace be upon all of his prophets, from Noah to Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, peace be upon them. With that, we're going to begin today. As you all know, 2 days ago, Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, issued a proclamation that was both defamatory and unconstitutional. This proclamation purported to smear our organization, the largest Muslim civil rights organization in the country, as a foreign terrorist organization, and also claimed that our organization can no longer purchase land in the state of Texas and will be subject to various other penalties. Now, Governor Abbott did this, even though he knows the Constitution does not allow any governor to target an American citizen or an American organization in this way. He did this, even though he knows that he has tried several times before to violate the First Amendment, to silence critics of the Israeli government, and failed. Our organization, CAIR, has sued Governor Abbott 3 different times in recent years to stop his attempts to flout the First Amendment, and we won each of those 3 times. The first time, the state of Texas tried to fire a special education teacher because she would not sign Governor Abbott's boycott pledge. This is a pledge in state contracts that requires Texans to say they will not boycott the Israeli government over its human rights abuses. She refused to sign, she was fired, we sued, and we won. A Muslim businessman in Texas was told he can no longer have a state contract because he also refused to sign Governor Abbott's Israel boycott pledge. His contract was canceled, we sued, and again, we won. And this year, Governor Abbott issued an executive order that essentially called on public universities to expel any students who dared to peacefully protest the Israeli government's genocide or even express support for Palestinian human rights. Again, we sued and we won. The federal judge ruled that that law, that executive order, clearly appeared to be unconstitutional, and Greg Abbott backed off. He hasn't used it to expel a single student. So Greg Abbott is a consistent loser. He is someone who has repeatedly tried to violate our Constitution to protect a foreign government. And these attacks on CAIR and on the American Muslim community and on Texas Muslims pose not only a threat to our community, but to all Americans. Because if a governor can throw away the First Amendment when he dislikes an organization or a faith community or a political cause, any governor could do it. They could target any organization on all sides of any issue. Black Lives Matter, Planned Parenthood, Right to Life. Any organization you could think of could be subject to baseless allegations and censure and closure if Governor Abbott can get away with this. That is why CAIR and the Muslim Legal Fund of America today came together to file a lawsuit against Governor Abbott to make sure that his publicity stunt masquerading as a proclamation does not turn into actual government policy. Today, I'm going to introduce to you the lead attorney in this case, Charles Swift, the director of the Civil and Criminal Division at the Muslim Legal Fund of America. I'm going to briefly tell you about Mr. Swift, though many of you may know him already. Charles Swift is, as I said, the criminal department, civil department head at MLFA's legal division. He was named by the National Law Review as one of the top 100 legal minds in the nation. He is a retired lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy, Judge Advocate General's Corps. Charles is known for winning the U.S. Supreme Court case Hamdan v. Rumsfeld for his client, Salim Ahmed Hamdan, a case that made history in the United States. Following his military career, Mr. Swift was a visiting professor and head of the humanitarian law clinic at Emory University School of Law in Atlanta, Georgia, before he entered private practice. Mr. Swift has been a steadfast defender of free speech, of human rights, of due process for all Americans, and we're very happy to have him involved in this case. And we thank our friends at MLFA for partnering with CAIR's Legal Defense Fund to file this lawsuit. With that, I want to turn it over to Mr. Swift to tell us a bit about this lawsuit, the cause of action in it, and what he expects to happen next. Mr. Swift, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And it is our great pleasure to partner with CAIR because CAIR is the leading voice in this space. And we are absolutely at MLFA and myself personally devoted to defending those voices and to protecting the ability to continue to speak. And the threat that is posed by this unconstitutional action is a significant threat, as set forth. Now, the lawsuit. The lawsuit, basically, what the governor did was unconstitutional for a multitude of reasons. Sometimes, usually, there's only one, but he went for a significant number. The first was that because he has erroneously designated CAIR a foreign organization, he's entered into the exclusive realm of the federal government. Under the Supremacy Clause and well-established case law set out in our brief or in our complaint, the federal government alone controls foreign sanctions. Governor Abbott decided to appropriate that power to himself to retaliate against CAIR. The next part on it that's wrong in it is, of course, CAIR is actually, and their affiliates in Texas, which are the actual plaintiffs in this suit, are all U.S. corporations and U.S. persons in all parts. Right? And of course, U.S. persons and U.S. corporations are entitled to due process of law, something that has been extraordinarily lacking up to this point, and there was none. So he violated the Fifth Amendment as well as the Supremacy Clause. And then we can turn to the parts where clearly at this point, having CAIR sued him successfully multiple times and trying to silence them, all of the allegations, when one looks at the allegations in part, are years and years old. They don't actually, many of them are untrue. The few of them that have some factual basis establish nothing. Why does he bring it up now? Well, CAIR's just won 3 lawsuits. So let's see if we can get them to stop talking and stop standing up for rights. So the last 4 counts deal with CAIR's ability to speak, their ability to assemble, and their ability to do so free from government retaliation. And that sets out what the lawsuit is. Our next step will be to seek a temporary injunction and then a permanent injunction from this law ever going into force.
Thank you, Mr. Swift, for that very clear summary. And it's so simple that it's remarkable that the governor decided to violate the Constitution in such a very flagrant way. But again, he's done it before, done it again now. He's lost before, and God willing, he will lose again now. Mr. Swift, put this into context for us. You've seen many incidents of violations of the rights of American citizens by various levels of government. Tell us a bit about your perception of the time we're living in and the threat to due process rights.
This is, I always hesitate to say something. I'm a student of history, and I hesitate to call things unprecedented. But this is getting pretty close to unprecedented. And the reason I say that is that, to my knowledge, no governor that we were able to find has ever sought to, after there was established case law, the Supreme Court's ruled, and said, I think I will appropriate the foreign powers. And never under such a, how should I say this, clear reprisal. This is a period of time in our government where when you speak against the government is trying to take action against you. And as we can see in a lot of those actions, they're bending the law, they're breaking the law, they're ignoring the law. And this one does all 3, bends, breaks, and ignores. And so I do think that it's not a coincidence that CAIR was targeted. They've been a real thorn inside, standing up for what are clear free speech rights, things that I think we could, I've always looked at this. I don't have to agree with everything that's done or said, but what's most important is that you have the right to say and hold your opinion, and a free speech, and particularly political speech and open access to the courts, is what is critical in making this society truly free.
Absolutely, Mr. Swift. So with that, we are going to bring in the media just a moment. The one thing I want to say before we do that, to take any questions that reporters may have, is the following. To the American Muslim community and to our partners and our neighbors, we want to thank you so much for speaking out vocally against what Governor Abbott did. We've seen statements from a multitude of organizations, civil rights groups, community groups, elected officials. I want to say that you all have shown that free speech still matters in this country. Civil rights still matter. Due process still matters. So whether it's the ACLU of Texas, 27 state legislatures in the state Texas House, members of Congress, various civil rights groups representing diverse communities. We commend you all for speaking up and expressing solidarity with us as we confront this unconstitutional attack on not only us, but all Americans and our right to organize and speak freely. As you know, CAIR has been doing this work for 31 years, and our job is to be a shield for the American Muslim community, to protect our community from discrimination and bigotry, and to protect the rights of everyone in this country. And when you are a shield, you take arrows sometimes. That's part of the job. And we look to civil rights organizations that came before us that were targeted in very similar ways. In the 1960s, the NAACP was smeared repeatedly. So were other Black civil rights groups. They were called communists, agents of the Soviet Union, un-American. Alabama tried to shut down the NAACP. And this happened because segregationists and racists couldn't win the argument. They didn't have a winning message, so they tried to silence the messenger. They failed then, and God willing, they will fail now. The opposition we face today is a combination of anti-Muslim hate groups, anti-Palestinian racists, and pro-Israel lobby groups who cannot win the argument, who cannot justify oppression, apartheid, or genocide, and therefore want to silence Americans who are critical of those human rights abuses. CAIR has spent 31 years advocating for free speech, religious freedom, and promoting justice for all. We've done this with support from the American people for the American people. Despite all the conspiracy theories, CAIR is an American organization, period. We've never been an offshoot, a partner, an agent, a pen pal of any foreign organization, not the Muslim Brotherhood, not Hamas, not Spectre, not Cobra, not anyone you want to imagine. These conspiracy theories that Governor Abbott is relying on are ludicrous. And that's another reason why he's going to fail. He is going to fail because he doesn't have a leg to stand on. We beat him 3 times before. God willing, we look forward to beating him one more time and protecting the rights of all Americans. With that, I want to open up to questions from any reporters who may want to ask us anything. I'll ask our communications manager to bring on the media, and we're happy to answer questions. And if we don't have any questions, then we will close out shortly. Mr. Allison, go ahead, bring anyone on who may have a question.
Hi there, my name is Michael. I'm a reporter with WOAI News in Texas. Thank you for doing this and helping us reporters cover this story. In addition to the terror designation I'm sorry, there was a little bit of reverb that I'm getting a little bit of feedback. The governor has also issued a warning about Sharia law in Texas. He shot a letter to North Texas lawmakers and sheriffs warning about Sharia law courts, making them sound nefarious. For people who don't understand what Sharia law tribunals might be, can you explain this?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. So first and foremost, the fact that Governor Abbott is telling law enforcement officers to take time away from fighting real crime to investigate conspiracy theories about quote unquote Sharia law is another sign that he is increasingly desperate and I would say unhinged. Number one, Sharia is an Arabic word that can be translated as the way. It refers to the rules that Muslims follow. And it's very similar to halakha or to canon law, halakha being the rules that the Jewish community follows, canon law being what Catholics follow. Those are the rules of the Islamic faith. So when a Muslim prays 5 times a day, when a Muslim fasts in Ramadan, when a Muslim gives in charity at least annually, when a Muslim declines to eat pork or drink alcohol or charge interest on a loan, they are doing that and following Sharia, which is Islamic rules. So I hate to scare Governor Abbott, but right now across the state of Texas and across the country, American Muslims are practicing Islam freely. That's their right to do that. Just as Jewish Americans are following halakha and canon law, Muslims are following the rules of Islam. Now, there are rules of Sharia that a government could implement in a Muslim country. Those rules have no application whatsoever in America, obviously. Just like the rules of the Bible that relate to what a government would do have no application in America. And no one is trying to impose Islamic law on America. Obviously, the idea that 6 million American Muslims would impose Islamic law on 300 million other Americans is insane. And the fact that Governor Abbott is relying on this shows how weak his argument is. This conspiracy theory is used by anti-Muslim extremists to whip up fear of Muslims. And in Governor Abbott's case, he is whipping up this fear because he wants to silence Muslims, because so many American Muslims have been critical of the Israeli government. Greg Abbott is an Israel-first politician. His primary goal is to protect the Israeli government from criticism. He knows that American Muslims and college kids of various backgrounds have been very effective in speaking up against unconditional U.S. support for the Israeli government. And so, again, he can't win the argument. He doesn't have a winning message. So instead he says, well, they want to impose Sharia on us, right? Nonsense. It's not true. American Muslims practice Islam freely. That's our right. We will continue to do it regardless of what Greg Abbott thinks, God willing. We'll take any other questions, please. And Ismail, while you bring on the next reporter, one other thing I will add regarding the Sharia courts thing, and this is important. So across America, there is such a thing as private arbitration. So oftentimes you'll see businesses, you'll see families, individuals voluntarily choose to go to private arbitration to resolve a dispute with a private mediator. This happens all the time in America. It's perfectly legal. It's perfectly permissible. And when an arbitrator makes a decision between two parties, that decision can only be upheld by a real court of law. And courts of law only uphold arbitrary decisions if those decisions don't violate the law or public policy. So to the extent that Governor Abbott, with this Sharia court nonsense, is actually trying to talk about private arbitration, there are already laws in place to make sure that private arbitrators, whether arbitrating a business dispute, a family dispute, a contract dispute, have to follow the law and have to follow public policy. So again, this order is a bad. It's a solution in search of a problem. So that's the other thing I would note there. Go ahead. So to our next person. Any other questions from our members of the media with us? Oh, I see a question. When will you get first day in court? So Mr. Swift, I'll turn that over to you. When might the first day in court be? Obviously, I don't think we know that yet.
That'll be up to the court. The government gets 21 days to answer in a federal lawsuit. We're going to be filing for a temporary injunction. Then the court will make a ruling. We filed the suit. We are in process of perfecting service. I'm sure Governor Abbott and the Attorney General of Texas Ken Paxton are well aware of the suit, but we have yet to, a judge is going to be assigned, et cetera. We're announcing the suit at this point. But I would expect, no later than 21 days or thereafter, but probably a little earlier, depending on when the court determines to take up the temporary injunction.
Thank you, Mr. Swift. All right, Mr. Allison, do we have any more questions from the reporters in our guest room? If not, we will wrap up momentarily. While Mr. Allison is checking that, I will note if anyone has any other questions about the situation, they go to CAIR.com, CAIR.com, or MLFA.org. You can also go there to find action alerts you can use to contact your member of Congress to encourage them to speak up for the Constitution and for free speech. And of course, you're also free to reach out to CAIR-Texas directly to express solidarity with them. I'm sure they would appreciate that, and they appreciate everyone who has expressed support for them and their rights and the rights of all Texans. We have another question. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm wondering, do you anticipate that Governor Abbott's designation of CAIR is going to be something that the federal government is going to take up? And if so, do you have a response or a comment on that possibility?
Well, anti-Muslim bigots have spent decades begging the federal government to violate federal law and the Constitution by targeting various American Muslim organizations. We've seen no indication that that is in the cards or going to happen. And obviously, we intend to protect our rights and the rights of our community and our neighbors from all threats, whether local, state, or federal. But we have no indication anything like that is coming. And we are ready to deal with whatever may come. Mr. Swift, you want to add anything?
Yes, absolutely. I think the federal government knows the difference between a foreign organization and a domestic organization. And CAIR is clearly a domestic organization. I've been doing this for a long time, so I have real understanding of some of those. And so people may be remembering back. CAIR is very distinct from organizations which were targeted right after 9/11. Those organizations were largely provided financial aid around the world And that financial aid was in areas, and they were concerned that that financial aid was going to organizations. Only one was ever criminally charged, but there was concerns on that. That's not what CAIR does. CAIR provides, as has been stated here, is a civil rights organization. Who they care about are Americans. Who CAIR stands up for are American rights. And then that they send the most protected area of speech. I hope, cannot predict what the federal government can do, but I can tell you what the Constitution says. And the Constitution would not allow CAIR to be targeted or named or any part without due process of law. And we look forward to meeting any such allegations actually in a court because they are meritless.
One other thing I'll add, Mr. Swift, and this is the great ironic thing, is that Governor Abbott calls us terrorists. It's Governor Abbott that supported genocide in Gaza. It's Governor Abbott that has no problem with an insurrection in the United States. CAIR has spent 31 years consistently condemning all forms of unjust violence, whether that's hate crimes, terrorism, ethnic cleansing, genocide. It was CAIR that was condemning Hamas suicide bombings way back in the 1990s. It's CAIR that condemned attacks on civilians on October 7th. And yes, because of moral consistency, it's CAIR that also has condemned the Israeli government's decades of oppression and violence against the Palestinian people, culminating in the genocide in Gaza. We have condemned terrorism so often that ISIS once put our executive director on a target list. Just you have to understand that. We have condemned terrorism so often that real terrorists once endangered our leadership. And so the idea that Governor Abbott's going to claim that CAIR, an American Muslim civil rights group, is somehow a foreign terrorist group, it's patently ludicrous. And it's the clearest example of bigotry that you call a Muslim who you disagree with a terrorist. Governor Abbott knows better. And again, this is all part of his game to protect the Israeli government from criticism. Mr. Allison, any more questions from our guests here? All right. Well, if no other questions, I want to thank all of you for joining us and tuning in today. Again, we want to thank all of the civil rights organizations, elected officials, public servants, community organizations who have spoken up. We encourage you to continue doing so. It's so important that Governor Abbott fail, but also that no one else try to do this same thing to any civil rights organization. So we encourage you to raise your voices loudly, strongly, and to stand with us as we stand up for not ourselves, but for you, for the Constitution, for every American's right to criticize the government, to protest peacefully. We have spent 31 years defending the rights of the American people, standing up for justice here and abroad, and God willing, we will do it for many more years, no matter how much Greg Abbott may dislike it. I want to thank you all so much for joining us. And I want to thank MLFA, our partners at the Muslim Legal Fund of America, and the many other members of the legal team and those who may join us in the future. We want to thank all of you for your office of support and for the support you've given. And a big thanks to Mr. Swift and his entire legal team, Mary Mudine, Arsha Ali Khan, Sharif, our litigation director, Lena Masri, everyone is involved. Thank you all so much. And we look forward to sharing updates with the community in the future. Mr. Allison, confirm one more time, no more questions from our media guests, correct?
I saw, currently I'm the Muslim Legal Fund of America's department head for civil litigation and criminal defense.
Thank you, Mr. Put that in the chat on in the media room so they can make sure they get it. Well, thank you all so much. And if you have any questions, just contact us. You can look at our website for the best contact information, and we're happy to answer your questions that you may have in the future, God willing. Until then, thank you so much. And to our friends and allies and community members, have a great day. And to our community, assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you.